All right, hey guys, welcome back to the course. In this lecture, I'm going to talk a little bit about the channel rack in FL Studio. So the channel rack contains all of our channels in our project. So what I mean by channels is basically audio samples, VST plugins, effects, or automations. Different sounds and instruments to the channel rack. It's very easy to do that. You can do it in the browser. So if you just browse for some, let's say, sounds, you can just drag it in like that. You can also choose your own samples and just drag them in like that to the channel rack. You can also press the little plus sign here to add a plugin. So all of these are FL Studio built-in plugins. We can also go to more plugins here to open up your third-party VST and audio unit plugins. Also delete one of the tracks here by just going to the track and press delete. If you want to modify the sound itself that the track contains, you just left click on the sound and you get this wrapper here, as they call it in FL Studio. And here you can modify a lot of different settings within the instrument or within the sound. So the wrapper is basically a sampler for audio files. So if you have an audio file imported to the channel rack and left click on it, then you will have the wrapper here. So the wrapper is basically, like I said, a sampler. If you have a VST plugin, for instance, you just left click on it and that will open up the VST plugin. Resize the channel rack so you can add in more steps into the step sequencer here. So if you resize it by this, you see you will get a lot more steps here. You can also resize it like this if you have more channels here. You can also resize it here if you have a lot of channels here and you want this channel rack window to get bigger. So you can do that. You can also press here to get different groups of channel racks. You can also resize the name here. So you see, now I can see it says classical acoustic here, which I couldn't do before. So you can resize the whole track name button here by doing it like that. You can also play and pause this pattern by clicking this button here. And here we have the main swing parameter, as you can see here. And here we have the graph editor. So you can modify the different parameters of each note in the selected pattern here. So you see you have note, velocity, release, fine pan, and other stuff like that. Then we have the piano roll overview. So you can just switch between the different views of having it like a step sequencer or having it more like a piano roll. So if you have it on like this, or if you have it on like this, but you can see the piano roll view in the selected track, you can always just right click to get the piano roll up like this. And now you can just edit different stuff and just close it by pressing the right click here again. So let's say that I want to edit the kick here. I can do a very simple thing like that. And I can enable and disable the tracks here. So let's disable the keys now and just having the kick here. And let's say that I want to create more advanced kind of notation here. I can just click here, I get up the piano roll, right click here, and now I can see my notes. I can also see the notes of the other track that I have here, but they are grayed out. And this is just because it's a lot simpler to create notes when you can see your other tracks notes as well. For instance, if you're creating a chord progression and then you want to create a melody on top of that, that is very handy to use. So as you can see here, I have a chord progression now and I can just draw up some melody if I would want to. But in this instance, I'm just creating the kick, so that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But as you can see here, I just right click on it and to open and close it. So it's very handy to have as well. And then I can go back to this view if I want to. So just left click to get the notes right up and just right click to delete them as well. And as I showed you before, you can just fill each 2 steps like that. You can fill each 4 steps. And let's get rid of that. Then we can enable and disable the track here. You have the track pan and you have the track volume. And then you have the selection of where you want to assign your track to the mixer. Let's create a new pattern. So I'm going to go to the plus sign here and I'm let's name these drums like that. All right. So now I have a drums pattern here, and I want to create a kick drum, fill each 4 steps, of course. And then I want to fill each 8 steps. Hats, I want to fill each 2 steps. Snare, each 8 steps as well. And I want to move the clap and snare to these positions. All right, so what you can do here in the channel rack is to group different things together. And what I mean by grouping is to basically sort the tracks in the channel rack to having them listed here in the list. Because let's say that you have hundreds and hundreds of different tracks in the channel racks and different sounds. You will be scrolling through the channel rack all the time when you're producing your music. And that can be annoying because maybe you just can't find the instrument that you want to work with, or let's say that you're just focusing on the drums, for instance. Then it's a lot easier to create groups here. So let's say that I want to group all of these 4 instruments together, or these tracks here together. You can just select them here with this little, as you can see here, this box here. As soon as they are green, you can just have them selected, or that is a track that is selected. But let's say that I want to select all of these 4 here. You can just select them like that. And when they are selected, you just go here to the channel rack options here, and you can find the group selected ones. So now let's call these drums again. And as you can see, this is now a new option in the list here. So I can just pull up the drums here, and this will only show the drums. So I can alter between all of the tracks, drums, for instance. And let's say that I want to have more melodic things or piano or stuff like that. I can just group piano sounds as well and have them sorted as an option in the list as well. Thing that is very cool with the grouping in the channel rack is that you can color all of these tracks here, and you can make a gradient of it. So if I go to color selected and gradient here, I can choose the first color. Let's say that I want it to be black. Or yeah, let's choose whatever color. Okay, black. And then I can choose the second color. So let's say I want it to be green. So now it will actually make a color gradient of from the first color to the second color. And that would make it a lot easier to find these instruments if I color gradient, let's say from yellow to white or from blue to white. And then you can